The word bastard had followed Elara her entire life, whispered in hallways, muttered behind hands, spoken outright by wolves who thought she couldn't hear or didn't care if she did. She was the bastard daughter of some nameless rogue who'd seduced a pack warrior and disappeared before the pup was born. That's what they told her. That's what she believed for 23 years. Elara scrubbed the pack house floors now, her knees aching from hours on cold stone, her hands raw from harsh soap. It was past midnight. The rest of the Crescent Moon Pack was asleep, but bastards didn't get to sleep normal hours. Bastards worked when no one else wanted to work, did the jobs no one else wanted to do, and stayed grateful for the privilege of not being cast out entirely. Still at it, Marcus, one of the younger warriors, leaned against the doorway. He was handsome in a rough way, and unlike most of the pack, he'd always been kind to her. Elara, you've been working for 18 hours straight. You need to rest. I need to finish. Elara kept her eyes down. Bastards didn't look pack members in the eye, especially not warriors from good bloodlines. Luna Catherine wants everything perfect for tomorrow's ceremony, the royal summit. I know. Marcus moved closer, and Elara could smell pine and something warm. All 5 Alpha Kings coming here. It's a big deal, but working yourself to death isn't going to change anything. It might make them not notice me. That's good enough, Elara. Marcus started, but footsteps on the stairs cut him off. Luna Catherine appeared, her perfectly styled hair and expensive clothes marking her status. Her eyes swept over Elara with the same disgust they always held. Marcus, you're needed for perimeter patrol. The Alpha Kings arrive at dawn and we can't have any security lapses. Her voice was sharp, dismissive. And you, she looked at Elara like she was something stuck to her shoe. Make sure the Great Hall is spotless. If even one speck of dust is visible when the royals arrive, you'll be sleeping in the stables for a month. Yes, Luna. Elara kept her head bowed. Catherine left in a swirl of perfume. Marcus squeezed Elara's shoulder once, a gesture of comfort she wasn't supposed to receive, and followed. Elara was alone again. Just her and the floors, and the constant reminder that she was less than everyone else, that her very existence was shameful, that she should be grateful they'd let her live at all. She moved to the Great Hall and started cleaning. The space was massive, designed to host hundreds of wolves. Tomorrow it would be filled with the most powerful shifters in 5 kingdoms. All 5 Alpha Kings in one place for the first time in a decade. The Crescent Moon Pack had been honored with hosting duties, and Luna Catherine had been insufferable about it for weeks. Elara was scrubbing the raised dais where the Alpha Kings would sit when she noticed something strange. A loose stone in the floor, slightly raised compared to its neighbors. She pressed on it experimentally. It clicked, shifted, and a hidden compartment opened beneath it. Inside was a wooden box, old and covered in dust. Elara glanced around, still alone, and carefully lifted it out. The lock was rusted but broke easily under her hands. Inside were documents, old ones, yellowed with age, written in formal script. She pulled out the top document and began to read. Certificate of birth. Name: Elara Silvermoon. Parents: Alpha King Aldrich Silvermoon and Luna Queen Elara Silvermoon. Date of birth: March 15th, exactly 23 years ago. Place: Silvermoon Royal Palace. Heir to the throne of 5 kingdoms. Elara's hands shook. This was impossible. Some kind of mistake. Some other Elara born on the same day. It couldn't be, but there was more. Photos. A baby with pale blonde hair and distinctive silver blue eyes. Eyes that looked exactly like Elara's when she saw them in mirrors. Photos of Alpha King Aldrich, the king who died in a mysterious fire 23 years ago, holding an infant and smiling with pride. Photos of Luna Queen Elara, her face soft with love, cradling that same baby. There were news clippings. Royal tragedy. Alpha King Aldrich and Luna Queen Elara die in palace fire. Infant daughter missing, presumed dead, dated 2 weeks after Elara's birth. There were genetic records, DNA profiles, medical documents showing detailed family lineage, and at the bottom of the box, wrapped in silk, was a small bracelet, silver with tiny moonstones engraved with words in the old language. Elara, our moon, our heir, our everything. The bracelet fit her wrist perfectly, like it had been made for her. Because it had been made for her, Elara sat on the dais floor, surrounded by evidence that her entire life was a lie. She wasn't a bastard. She wasn't the shameful product of a rogue affair. She was Princess Elara Silvermoon, heir to 5 kingdoms, daughter of murdered royalty. And someone had hidden her. Someone had made her believe she was nothing when she was everything. The question was who and why. What are you doing? The voice made Elara jump. Luna Catherine stood at the entrance to the great hall, her expression shifting from anger to horror as she saw the open box and scattered documents. I found this, hidden under the dais. It says. Elara held up the birth certificate with shaking hands. It says I'm the missing princess, the heir to the Silvermoon throne. Give me that. Catherine lunged forward, trying to snatch the documents. Elara pulled back. Something in Catherine's panic told her this was real, that these documents were genuine. That Catherine knew. You knew, Elara whispered. You've always known who I am. You don't understand. It's complicated. We were protecting you by making me scrub floors, by calling me a bastard my entire life, by treating me like I was worthless. Elara's voice rose. That's not protection. That's abuse. We had no choice. Catherine's perfect composure was cracking. When the fire happened, when your parents died, there were wolves hunting for you. Wolves who wanted to eliminate the royal bloodline entirely. We hid you here, made you seem ordinary, kept you safe. Who's we? Who else knows? Catherine's face went pale. The other Alpha Kings. They arranged it. Decided that hiding you as a bastard servant was safer than revealing you as the heir. That keeping you invisible would keep you alive. The Alpha Kings who are arriving tomorrow. Yes, Catherine looked sick. And if they find out you know the truth, if they realize the secret is compromised, I don't know what they'll do. Elara looked down at the documents in her hands, at the proof of her identity, at 23 years of lies exposed in yellowed paper and faded photographs. They're going to find out, she said quietly. Because I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not pretending to be a bastard when I'm a princess. I'm not staying silent while everyone who's supposed to protect me treats me like dirt. Elara, please. You don't understand the danger, then explain it. Tell me everything. All of it. Right now. Elara's voice held command she'd never been allowed to use. Or I walk into that summit tomorrow and announce exactly who I am in front of everyone. Catherine stared at her for a long moment. Then she sighed, seeming to age a decade in seconds. Sit down. This is going to take a while. The story Catherine told was worse than Elara imagined. 23 years ago, her parents ruled the 5 kingdoms with wisdom and fairness. They'd united territories that had been warring for generations. They'd brought peace, prosperity, and hope. And they'd had enemies. There was a faction, Catherine explained, her voice hollow. Traditionalists who hated the unified kingdoms, who wanted to return to the old ways where each territory was separate and strong packs dominated weak ones. They tried to assassinate your parents multiple times. Failed. Until the night of the fire, they succeeded, yes. They burned the palace, killed your parents and most of the royal guard. The 5 Alpha Kings who'd been your parents' closest allies arrived to find devastation. And you 6-week-old Princess Elara missing, presumed dead, but I wasn't dead. No, your mother's personal guard had gotten you out before the fire spread. She died protecting you, but not before getting you to safety. The Alpha Kings found you with her body. Catherine's eyes were wet now, and they faced an impossible choice. Announce your survival and paint a target on your back, or hide you and keep you safe until you were old enough to defend yourself. They chose to hide me as a bastard. They chose to give you a chance to survive. The faction that killed your parents was still active, still hunting for any survivors. If they'd known you were alive, Catherine stopped. They would have found you, would have killed you. You were 6 weeks old, helpless, vulnerable, so they hid me here. made me a servant, let everyone treat me like I was worthless. Elara's voice was flat. For 23 years, they were planning to tell you, when you turned 25, when you'd be strong enough to defend yourself. When the faction had been eliminated, has it been eliminated? Catherine's silence was answer enough. So they were going to keep me as a bastard servant indefinitely, until some theoretical future date when it was safe to tell me I was actually a princess. Elara stood, gathering the documents. Well, they don't get to make that choice anymore. I know, and I'm not pretending for one more second. Elara, if you reveal yourself tomorrow, if you announce who you are at the summit, you'll be putting yourself in incredible danger. The faction still exists. They still want the royal bloodline eliminated. They'll kill you, then let them try. Elara's eyes blazed. I've spent 23 years being invisible, being nothing. I'm done. I'm Princess Elara Silvermoon, heir to 5 kingdoms. And tomorrow, everyone's going to know it. She left before Catherine could respond, clutching the box of documents to her chest. Elara didn't sleep that night. She spent the hours before dawn reading every document in the box, learning about parents she'd never known, about a legacy that had been stolen from her, about power and position she'd been born to but never allowed to claim. By the time the sun rose, she'd made her decision. She was going to that summit. She was going to confront the Alpha Kings. And she was going to reclaim her identity. She dressed carefully in the only decent clothes she owned, a simple gray dress that was still clearly servant class but at least clean and mended. She put the silver bracelet on her wrist where everyone could see it, and she walked into the great hall with her head high for the first time in her life. The hall was already filling with wolves from across 5 kingdoms. Dignitaries, advisors, warriors, all dressed in finery that made Elara's simple dress look like rags. They stared at her, the bastard servant girl walking with confidence with expressions ranging from confusion to disgust. Elara ignored them all. She made her way to the front of the hall, where the 5 Alpha Kings were already seated on the dais. They were exactly as imposing as legend said. 5 of the most powerful shifters alive, radiating authority that made lesser wolves drop to their knees. Alpha King Thorn of the Northern Kingdom, massive, scarred, with eyes like winter storms. Alpha King Darius of the Eastern Kingdom, dark-skinned and elegant, moving with predatory grace. Alpha King Rowan of the Southern Kingdom, red-haired and fierce, barely contained violence in every gesture. Alpha King Kale of the Western Kingdom, silver-haired despite being only in his 40s, with a gaze that seemed to see through everything. And Alpha King Marcus of the Central Kingdom, the Marcus who'd been kind to her last night, she realized with a jolt. He looked different in full royal regalia, harder, older. All 5 of them stared at Elara as she approached the dais. She saw recognition flash across their faces, saw shock, saw fear. You're not supposed to be here, Thorn said, his voice low and dangerous. Servants aren't allowed in the hall during summit meetings. I'm not a servant, Elara's voice carried across the suddenly silent hall. I'm Princess Elara Silvermoon, daughter of Alpha King Eldric and Luna Queen Sira, heir to the throne of 5 kingdoms. And I'm here to claim what's mine. The hall erupted. Shouts, gasps, wolves surging to their feet. The 5 Alpha Kings went rigid with shock. Elara reached into her bag and pulled out the birth certificate, held it high. DNA records, birth certificate, photographs, medical history, genetic profiles, all of it proving exactly who I am, all of it hidden under the dais in this very hall. She looked at the Alpha Kings directly. All of it hidden by you, the wolves who were supposed to protect me, who instead made me believe I was a bastard for 23 years. This is, Kale started. True. Every word is true and you know it. Elara's eyes blazed. You hid me after my parents were murdered, made me a servant, let me be treated like dirt, all to keep me safe from some faction you've apparently failed to eliminate in 23 years. The faction is dangerous, Darius began. Then help me fight them. Train me. Give me the resources and knowledge and power I should have had from birth. Elara's voice shook with fury. Don't hide me like I'm a shameful secret. Don't let me be treated as worthless when I'm a princess. Don't steal my identity and call it protection. Marcus Alpha King Marcus stood slowly. His expression was agonized. We thought we were doing the right thing. We thought keeping you hidden would keep you safe. We were planning to tell you when I was 25. I know. Catherine told me everything. Elara laughed bitterly. 2 more years of scrubbing floors and being called a bastard. 2 more years of believing I was nothing. Were you ever actually going to tell me? Or were you going to keep me as a servant forever? Silence. Damning, heavy silence. That's what I thought. Elara looked around the hall at hundreds of watching wolves. I am Princess Elara Silvermoon. I am the rightful heir to my parents' throne. And I am claiming my birthright, right here, right now. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with the DNA evidence. She placed the documents on the table in front of the Alpha Kings. I assume you'll want to verify these. That's fine. Test my DNA. Compare it to whatever records you have. Prove to yourselves that I'm telling the truth. She smiled without warmth. And then you're going to explain to 5 kingdoms worth of wolves why you thought hiding a princess as a bastard was acceptable. Elara turned and walked out of the hall before anyone could stop her. Behind her, chaos erupted. Shouts, arguments, the Alpha Kings calling for order. She didn't care. She'd said what needed to be said. She'd claimed what was hers. The rest would come. She made it to her small room before the shaking started. Before the reality of what she'd just done hit her, she confronted 5 Alpha Kings in front of hundreds of witnesses. She'd announced herself as the missing princess. She'd basically declared war on the wolves who'd been hiding her, and she had no idea what came next. A knock at the door made her jump. Elara, it's Marcus. May I come in? She considered refusing. Considered barricading the door and hiding, but hiding was what had gotten her into this mess. It's not locked. Marcus entered, closing the door behind him. He looked tired, worried. That was incredibly brave and incredibly stupid. Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I'm serious. You just painted a target on your back. The faction, the ones who killed your parents, they have spies everywhere. They'll know within hours that you've revealed yourself. They'll come for you, then I'll fight them. Or die trying. At least I'll die as myself instead of as a lie. Elara met his eyes. Why didn't you tell me last night? When you came to check on me, you knew who I was. Why didn't you say something? Because I'm a coward. Marcus's voice was raw. Because I'd convinced myself we were doing the right thing, that keeping you hidden was keeping you safe. Because admitting the truth meant admitting we'd been wrong for 23 years. You have been wrong. All of you. You took my parents, my identity, my childhood, my chance to know who I was. Elara felt tears threatening. Do you have any idea what it's been like? Being called a bastard every single day? Being treated like I was shameful? Like my very existence was wrong? I can't imagine. And I'm sorry. We're all sorry. But Elara. Marcus moved closer. That apology doesn't protect you from what's coming. The faction will move fast. They'll send assassins, dark magic users, wolves who won't hesitate to kill you. Why should I trust anything you say? You've been lying to me my entire life because despite everything, despite all our mistakes, we do care about keeping you alive. Marcus's expression was earnest. We've been watching over you for 23 years, protecting you from threats you never saw, making sure no one looked too closely at the bastard servant girl. We've been failing you in so many ways, but we haven't been completely absent. That's supposed to make me feel better? No, it's supposed to make you understand that we're not your enemies. We're idiots who made terrible choices, but we're idiots who want you to survive. Marcus pulled out his phone. The other Alpha Kings want to meet with you, privately, to explain everything, to show you the evidence of the faction, to offer you actual protection and training, or to find a way to shut me up, or to try to repair the damage we've done. Marcus's voice was quiet. I know you have no reason to trust us, but please, give us a chance to make this right. Elara wanted to refuse, wanted to tell him to leave and take his false apologies with him, but she was practical enough to know she needed information, needed to understand what she was really facing. Fine, I'll meet with them, but I'm not going anywhere private where you could kill me quietly. We meet in the Great Hall. With witnesses done, Marcus looked relieved. 1 hour. We'll have the DNA results by then too. To verify everything, he left. Elara sat on her narrow bed and tried to process the fact that she was about to have a formal meeting with 5 Alpha Kings, as their equal, as a princess instead of a servant. It felt surreal. The meeting happened exactly as promised. Great Hall, dozens of witnesses. The 5 Alpha Kings at the table with space left for Elara at the head, the place of highest honor. She walked in and every wolf in the room stood, not because she commanded it, because protocol demanded it. She was royalty. She outranked everyone except the Alpha Kings themselves. It felt bizarre. Elara sat at the head of the table. The DNA results were already laid out, confirmed match to Aldrich and Elara Silvermoon. Probability 99.9%. There was no question now. She was exactly who she said she was. First, Thorn began, his voice formal. We owe you an apology. A profound, sincere apology for the way we've handled your protection. We made terrible decisions. We prioritized your physical safety over your emotional well-being. We failed you as guardians. You did worse than fail me. You stole my identity and made me believe I was nothing. Yes, Kale's voice was quiet. We did. And there's no excuse for that. We were terrified of losing you the way we lost your parents. We made decisions out of fear instead of wisdom. And you paid the price. Why now? Elara demanded. Why were you planning to wait until I was 25 to tell me? Because that's when you legally be able to claim the throne without a regent, Darius explained. Before that, one of us would have had to rule in your place until you came of age. We were worried. He stopped. We were worried about power struggles. About wolves fighting over who got to control you and your throne. We thought waiting until you could rule independently would be safer, so you made me scrub floors for 2 more years. We weren't thinking about what you were doing day to day. We were thinking about grand strategy and political safety. Rowan's voice was bitter. We were thinking like kings instead of like guardians. We forgot you were a person, not just a chess piece to protect. At least you admit it. Admission doesn't fix the damage. Marcus looked at her directly. But maybe action can. Let us help you. Let us give you the resources you should have had from birth. Training, education, political alliances. Everything you need to actually rule. And the faction? The ones who killed my parents? The 5 Alpha Kings exchanged glances. Finally, Thorn spoke. Still active, still dangerous, but weaker than they were 23 years ago. We've been hunting them systematically. We've eliminated most of their leadership, but there are still cells operating, still wolves who believe the unified kingdoms should be dissolved. Show me. Elara held out her hand. Show me everything, all the intelligence, all the evidence, every threat. I want to know exactly what I'm facing. They spent the next 3 hours going through files, photographs of known faction members, intelligence reports, assassination attempts that had been thwarted, dark magic users who'd been captured or killed. It was overwhelming, terrifying, and absolutely real. There are approximately 50 known faction members still at large, Kale explained. They're organized into cells that operate independently. Taking out one cell doesn't compromise the others. It's effective resistance structure, and they all want me dead. They want the royal bloodline eliminated. Yes, Thorn's voice was grim, which is why we need to be smart about your protection. You can't just announce yourself and expect to survive. You need training, security, proper protocols. I've already announced myself to hundreds of witnesses. There's no taking it back. No, but we can control the narrative. We can present you to the 5 kingdoms as the found princess. We can build support before the faction has a chance to organize. Darius leaned forward. Let us help you. Not as the idiots who hid you for 23 years. As your allies, your advisors. He hesitated. Your family. if you'll have us. Elara looked at the 5 alpha kings who'd known her parents, who'd sworn to protect her and then failed her in the worst possible way, who were now offering to help her claim the throne they'd been keeping warm. I'll accept your help, she said finally, on one condition: no more lies, no more hidden protections, no more decisions made without consulting me. I'm not a child anymore. I'm 23 years old. If I'm old enough to rule, I'm old enough to know the truth about my own life. Agreed, all 5 said in unison. And if I find out you've lied to me again about anything, I walk away. I find my own path. You lose any chance to make this right. Elara's voice was steel. Are we clear? Crystal clear, Marcus said. The next 6 months were transformative. Elara moved from the servants' quarters to a royal suite that had been kept empty for 23 years, waiting for her return. She trained with the best warriors from all 5 kingdoms. She studied politics, history, magical theory. She learned what it meant to be a ruler instead of a servant. And slowly, grudgingly, she began to trust the 5 alpha kings who'd failed her so badly. They were trying, really trying. They gave her access to everything, never made decisions without consulting her, treated her like the adult she was instead of the child they'd been protecting. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was progress. The public presentation happened 3 months after her revelation. All 5 kingdoms gathered for a ceremony formally recognizing Princess Elara Silvermoon as the rightful heir. Wolves who'd never seen her before stared in awe. Wolves who remembered her parents wept. Elara stood on a platform wearing royal regalia that felt heavy and right all at once. The crown they placed on her head had been her mother's. The ceremonial blade she accepted had been her father's. And the 5 alpha kings knelt before her in acknowledgement of her rank. I am Princess Elara Silvermoon, she said, her voice carrying across thousands of assembled wolves. For 23 years, I was hidden, made to believe I was a bastard, treated as lesser, but I was never less. I was always the heir, always the daughter of King Eldrick and Queen Sira, always destined for this moment. The crowd was silent, listening. My parents believed in unity, in cooperation over competition, in strength through alliance rather than domination. They built these 5 kingdoms on those principles. They died for those principles. Elara's voice strengthened. And I will continue their work. I will lead with wisdom and justice. I will protect those who cannot protect themselves. I will be the ruler my parents raised me to be, even though I never got to know them. The crowd roared approval. Elara felt it wash over her like a wave. This was what she'd been born for. This was who she'd always been, even when she didn't know it. After the ceremony, Marcus found her on a balcony overlooking the crowd. How are you feeling? Overwhelmed? Terrified? Certain? Elara smiled slightly. All of the above, that's normal. I felt the same way when I took my throne. Marcus leaned against the railing beside her. For what it's worth, you're going to be an incredible queen. You can't know that. I can. I've watched you for 23 years. I've seen how you handle adversity, how you treat people beneath your station, how you never let cruelty make you cruel. Marcus's voice was sincere. You're going to be better than all of us. Better than your parents were even. That's a lot of pressure. You'll handle it. You've been handling impossible pressure your whole life. This will just be a different kind. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Elara asked the question that had been bothering her for months. When you came to check on me that night, the night before the summit, were you there as Alpha King Marcus checking on a hidden princess? Or as Marcus the warrior being kind to a bastard servant? Honestly, I don't know anymore. Marcus turned to look at her. I've been trying to separate those identities for years. Marcus the king who knows you're a princess. Marcus the wolf who genuinely likes you as a person. But maybe they're not separate. Maybe I've always been checking on you because you matter to me. Princess or servant or anything else, something in Elara's chest loosened. Thank you for being one of the few people who was kind to me even when you thought I was nobody. You were never nobody. We just did an excellent job of making you believe you were. Marcus's voice was bitter with self-recrimination. Stop, Elara put her hand on his arm. I mean it. Stop beating yourself up. You made mistakes. You're trying to fix them. That's more than most people do. Let yourself move forward. Is that what you're doing? Moving forward? I'm trying. Some days are easier than others. Some days I'm furious at all of you all over again. But most days, Elara looked out at the 5 kingdoms spread below them. Most days, I'm just glad I finally know who I am. The assassination attempt came 3 weeks later. Elara was in the royal library, researching old treaties, when the windows exploded inward. 3 wolves crashed through, already shifting, clearly aiming for her. Elara's training kicked in. She shifted mid-dodge, her wolf emerging smooth and fast. She was smaller than her attackers, but she'd been trained by the best warriors in 5 kingdoms. She was faster, smarter, more desperate to survive. The fight was brutal. Elara managed to take down one attacker, her jaws closing around his throat. The second she wounded badly enough that he fled. But the third, the largest, caught her off guard. His claws raked across her side, tearing flesh. Pain exploded through her. She was going down. She knew it. This was how it ended. Then Marcus crashed through the door in his wolf form. Massive, dark, absolutely enraged. He hit Elara's attacker like a freight train, tearing him away from her. The fight that followed lasted seconds. Marcus was bigger, stronger, and motivated by something beyond duty. When it was over, when the attacker was dead and Marcus was shifting back to human form, he dropped to his knees beside Elara. Are you okay? Let me see. He examined her wounds with shaking hands. You're bleeding badly. We need to get you to the healer. I'm fine. It's not that deep. Elara shifted back, ignoring how much the movement hurt. How did you know to come? I didn't. I've been checking on you. More than I probably should. Making sure you're safe. Marcus pulled off his shirt and pressed it against her bleeding side. When I felt the pack bonds disrupted, I ran. You saved my life. You were handling yourself pretty well before I got here. Marcus's smile was strained. But yes, I helped. They stared at each other for a long moment, and Elara felt something shift. Something that had maybe been shifting for months but was only now becoming clear. Marcus, she started. Later, he helped her to her feet carefully. Right now, we get you patched up. We secure this location. We figure out how 3 faction assassins got past all our security. Then he stopped. Then we can talk about whatever that look on your face means. The healer confirmed Elara's wounds weren't life-threatening. Painful, but she'd survive. The 5 Alpha Kings converged on the royal library within an hour, all of them furious that security had been breached. This is unacceptable, Thorn growled. We've had protocols in place. How did they get through? Inside help, Kale said grimly. He'd been examining the bodies. These wolves had royal guard uniforms under their clothes. Someone let them in. Someone we trust. The investigation took 2 weeks. They found the traitor, a guard who'd been recruited by the faction with promises of power and wealth. He'd been providing intelligence for months, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Elara attended his trial, watched him be sentenced to execution, felt nothing. She was learning that being a ruler meant making hard decisions, meant sometimes watching people die because they'd chosen to be enemies. It wasn't comfortable, but it was necessary. After the trial, Marcus found her again. He seemed to always find her lately. Walk with me? They walked through the royal gardens, silent for a while. Finally, Marcus spoke. You asked me something before the assassination attempt, about why I checked on you that night. I've been thinking about my answer. And I think I was lying to myself. I told myself I was kind to you because it was the right thing to do. Because you were a princess who deserved better treatment. But he stopped walking, turning to face her. I think I was kind to you because I liked you. Because you were smart and strong and you never let cruelty make you bitter. Because you were genuinely good in a way most wolves aren't. Marcus, I'm not finished. I've been watching you for 23 years. Watching you grow up. Watching you handle impossible situations with grace. And somewhere along the way, I stopped thinking of you as the princess I was protecting. His voice dropped. I started thinking of you as the woman I was falling in love with. Elara's breath caught. You can't, I'm 23. You're 41. I know. I'm too old for you. And I was one of the wolves who made terrible decisions about your life, and I have no right to feel this way. Marcus's expression was agonized. But I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of pretending. I love you. I've loved you for years. And if you tell me to leave, I will. But I needed you to know. Elara processed this. Marcus Alpha King Marcus, who'd been kind when no one else was, who'd saved her life, who'd been trying so hard to make things right, loved her. I don't want you to leave, she said quietly. She stopped. I think I want to see where this goes. If it goes anywhere. I'm still angry at all of you sometimes. I'm still processing 23 years of lies. But Marcus, she looked up at him. You've been the one constant kindness in my life. Even when you were lying about who I was, you were genuine about treating me like I mattered. That means something. It means I saw what everyone else missed. That you were extraordinary even when you thought you were ordinary. Marcus took her hand carefully. I'm not asking for forever. I'm just asking for a chance. A chance to what? To prove I can be worthy of you. To show you that I can be a real partner instead of a failed guardian. To maybe, eventually, if you'll have me, be your mate. Elara felt her wolf stir at the word. Mate. She'd never thought about that. Had never let herself think about romance or partnership or anything beyond survival. But now ask me again in 6 months, she said. After I've had time to settle into being a queen. After I've had time to process everything. After I'm sure this isn't just gratitude or trauma bonding or any of the other things it could be. That's fair. More than fair. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. I'll wait, however long it takes. 6 months later, Elara stood in the throne room that had been her parents'. She'd been officially crowned Queen Elara Silvermoon of the 5 Kingdoms, the youngest ruler in generations, the first queen to rule alone without a king in over a century. She was terrified, but she was ready. The 5 Alpha Kings stood as her advisors now, not her guardians. They'd sworn new oaths, promised to serve rather than protect, promised to treat her as their equal, not their ward. And Marcus stood closest, always closest. In 6 months, he'd proven himself over and over, been honest, been supportive, been exactly what Elara needed. You know, she said quietly as wolves filed into the throne room for her first official court session, I've been thinking about your question. The one you asked 6 months ago, about being your mate? Marcus kept his voice low. Yes, and I have an answer. Whatever it is, I'll respect it. Good. Because the answer is yes. But Elara held up a hand as joy flashed across his face. We do this properly. Courting. Public acknowledgement. Let everyone get used to the idea. I won't have rumors that you're using me or I'm rewarding you for saving my life or any of the other things gossips will say. Done. Whatever you want. However long it takes. Properly, publicly, and with absolutely no rushing. Marcus's smile was brilliant. Though I should probably mention that I've been dreaming about this moment for 3 years. 3 years? Elara's eyes widened. You've been since I was 20, since I realized that the bastard servant girl I'd been checking on had grown into an extraordinary woman. Yes, Marcus's voice was serious. I know that's complicated. I know I should probably have different feelings, but I don't. I love you. Have for years. Will for many more. If you'll let me, I'll let you. Elara took his hand, not caring who saw. And Marcus, for the record, I've been falling in love with you for 6 months. Ever since you crashed through that library door to save me. So maybe we're both a little bit ridiculous. The best kind of ridiculous. 2 years later, Elara stood in the same ceremonial space where she'd been crowned. But this time, she was there for a different ceremony. Marcus waited at the altar, wearing formal regalia, looking nervous despite being one of the most powerful alphas alive. The 5 kingdoms had gathered to witness their union, to see the bastard turn queen mate with the alpha king who'd always seen her worth. Do you, Elara Silvermoon, take Marcus as your mate? The officiant asked. I do. And do you, Marcus Blackwood, take Elara as your mate? I do. I really, really do. Laughter rippled through the crowd. When Marcus bit down and the mate mark appeared on Elara's neck, when the bond snapped into place fully and completely, Elara felt something settle in her chest. She was home. She was loved. She was exactly where she was supposed to be. For 23 years, she said to the assembled wolves after the ceremony, I believed I was a bastard. I believed I was nothing. I believed the lie that I should be grateful for scraps. She looked at Marcus. And then I learned the truth. I learned I was a princess. I learned I was loved by parents who died protecting me. I learned I was strong and capable and worthy of everything I'd been denied. But more than that, she continued, I learned that identity isn't what others tell you. It's what you discover about yourself. I was always Princess Elara Silvermoon, even when I didn't know it, even when everyone else pretended otherwise. The truth was always there. It just took time to emerge. The crowd cheered. Elara felt Marcus's hand in hers, felt the mate bond humming contentedly, felt her parents' presence somehow, proud and loving, watching their daughter reclaim everything that had been stolen. She'd started as a bastard, she'd ended as a queen, and in between, she'd learned the most important truth of all. She was exactly who she'd always been. The world just finally knew it. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts. And if you'd like to support me, please subscribe. It's free and it helps more people hear these stories.